Heard of Q Broadcast? It's taking the world by storm. People are cutting the cord to their high cable bills and moving away from streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and others for something better. Q Broadcast. For just $60 a month, you'll get access to every channel you could ever want, including HBO, Cinemax, and Stars. And the best part? There are no contracts, no hidden fees, and you're free to cancel anytime. With Q Broadcast, you can enjoy streaming live TV, movies, and top series on up to 5 devices at once. Whether you're at home or on the go, Q Broadcast makes sure your entertainment is always at your fingertips. Imagine being able to watch all your favorite channels from anywhere, anytime, without any restrictions. We're talking about thousands of movies, hundreds of TV series, and a huge library of live channels, all in one place. And don't forget video on demand and pay-per-view events. Those are included at no extra cost, so you'll never miss a big event again. Now, take a second and think about your current cable bill. You're probably paying anywhere between $100 and $300 every month, locked into long-term contracts and hit with surprise rate increases. With Q Broadcast, that's a thing of the past. It's just $60 a month. No contracts, no extra fees, no hidden costs, and no price hikes. Why juggle multiple subscriptions like Netflix, Hulu, and cable when Q Broadcast gives you everything you need in one convenient package? People everywhere are switching to Q Broadcast, saving money and getting more content than ever before. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description and sign up for Q Broadcast today. Just $60 a month, no contracts, no hidden fees. It's time to take control of your entertainment and start streaming smarter.
We live in a world where men are told it's harmless. It's just entertainment. But let's stop lying to ourselves. Pornography destroys. It weakens your spirit. It dulls your drive. And it robs you of what real intimacy is supposed to be. Every click is a step away from the man you're supposed to be. We can't call ourselves leaders if we are slaves to a screen.
As someone that is prior service, I know all about discipline. And discipline isn't out there, it's within your mind. Porn rewires your brain, weakens your will, wrecks all of your relationships. It doesn't just stay on a screen, it invades your marriage, your confidence, and your actual purpose. As men, if we don't learn to discipline ourselves, we'll be ruled by our impulses. Now, it is time to stand up and take control before this silent war takes more than you're willing to lose.
Real men don't hide in the shadows of shame. We step up and we protect what's ours. We fight for our wives and kids, our own hearts. Twitter isn't just an app, it's a weapon. It's a tool used to break free and start living like the man that you're meant to be. The battle's here and it starts with you. You can stop living in shame and you can break free today.
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, and
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrison?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's a lot of problems. I don't like the way society is based.
What bothers you? Give us some of the misgivings you have.
The rich, the poor, the people starving, the wars, you know. Why can't, you know, everybody just get along and just live their life?
Here at the Anomic Age, we know that these times of uncertainty are stressful. It is incumbent upon all of us to put our fears first and bow down to government tyranny. Gone are the days of freely leaving your home, working, and social interactions. In exchange for safety, we will trade liberty. At the Anomic Age, we understand. However, just in case you want to get off your knees and stop being a sniveling coward, check out the John Age Project at anomicage.com.
Meet Ann Morrissey, who is here with her daughter, Dareth. Dareth is 17 years old. Mrs. Morrissey, I don't have to tell you that most parents would be extremely depressed if their daughter came home one day looking like this. I assume that was your response shock, anger, depression? What was it?
I was extremely angry. I really went bananas.
Yeah, how old was she when this happened?
Possibly 13, 14 years old.
We're talking like it's a disease, and
Well,
yeah. How did she explain it to you, Mrs. Morrison?
there was very poor communication until we went into counseling. And it almost broke up our family. But through counseling and Serena, I can understand it better.
What do you understand?
That she feels like she doesn't want to be like everyone else, and she wants to be her own person. And through the dress code and her lifestyle, she's expressing this. It doesn't conform with our rules, but we're learning to cope, and it's a very, very difficult thing. Extremely difficult.
Dareth, let's let you talk for yourself. You're from Long Beach, California.
I just can't handle being like everybody else because that's what everybody else wants, you know. Just because somebody else does something does not mean that I have to do it. You know, I have my own morals and ideals, and I go by them.
Are you drug-free, Dareth?
Yes, I am.
Is this a political statement then? Do you have some misgiving about the society that you see?
Yeah, there's a lot of problems, you know. A lot of the people are really aware of what's going on, you know, and I don't like it, you know. There's
Fallon, Real and Chevy.
Propaganda. Investigating truth in a world of lies. You are listening to the John Age Project.
Trust no one. Trust no one. Trust no one.
You found it. You're here. You're headlong down the runaway train that is the Anomic Age, and I am your humble host, John Age, coming at you proudly, sort of, from the coastal plains of the old North State. I will be your tour guide this evening as we take a somewhat satirical journey down the path of murder, destruction, mayhem, and the extermination of human life on this planet. A forced march into obsolescence thrust upon us by a global Luciferian death cult of pedophiles. Check out anomicage.com if you've not already done so. It looks a whole heck of a lot just like that. Please consider liking all the likes, subscribing to all the subscriptions, paypal.me/anomicage, patreon.com/anomicage as well. Those are the best two ways to help me. You can also go to the buy me a cup of coffee link, the lightning link, if you want to send me some shitoshis. You can do that right there too. We got the Cash App link as well right there on the main page. What else we got? Somebody's going, that's not enough, John. Well, if you scroll all the way down here, we've got the free iPhone app, the free Android app, the subscribe by email link, and the free newsletter. So much more right there at anomicage.com. Pains me to see their episode number 201, our last conversation with the late, great Scott Bennett. Man, pains me to say that. It really does. Scott Bennett was a great guy. Folks, if you have not looked into the versions of this show where I actually do have guests, believe it or not, it was always guests up until a couple years ago when everything just went, well, you know. Anyway, I will abso-smurfly have some guests on before too long, I promise. I feel like I've been saying that for a while. But thankfully, I'm kind of getting my feet comfortable here in the Patriots Prayer Broadcasting Network. I've been doing this thing for about 5 years, but it is always a little bit of a something new, especially when you're on another network and changing things around a lot. So, nevertheless, thank you ever so much to the folks at Patriots Prayer. Thanks, Eddie. If you're listening, maybe you are. Thanks so much to John also. He kind of got me over here from his lovely platform at the Truckers United for Freedom site. And I'm still on there too, so you can catch me on either one of those. But if you want to support what I do on the solo, definitely go to any and all of my social media links. They're available at the bottom and top of anomicage.com, and you can follow me there. You can like all those likes. I ain't gonna go into it again. My goodness, we already did it once. So we shan't do it again. Oh man, I feel like this is an extreme gamble, but we'll try. Holy Lord have mercy. We got it going. So the title of tonight's episode should not be that much of a gamble, but alas, it sometimes is. Title of tonight's episode is The Anatomy of a Social Contagion. So that's exactly what we're going to cover tonight. The anatomy of a social contagion. And this might make the casual viewer bristle, but I hope not. Hopefully it will not, because I'm not here to make a light of Charlie Kirk, make light of his death or any of that stuff. That's not my gig. That's not my ball of wax. But there are no sacred cows in my barn. Nay. So I'm going to cover this thing right down the middle. And I'm going to look at this through the lens of exactly what I believe it to be, another social contagion. So we'll discuss what a social contagion is, some of its characteristics, properties. I'm going to make it just downright like a class. So if that bores you, I apologize, and find another show elsewhere. I'm sure somebody's just covering the basics of this nonsense. And I might very well do that on my Thursday show. So if you're into it, I will be here every Tuesday and Thursday, 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As I always say, taking you into the dark side of the AM. Yes, indeed. My favorite time. Love the dark side of the AM. Hate the light side of the AM. But the dark side is more apropos with me. Don't you know? Nevertheless, I ain't going to get off on that jag. So that's what we're going to look at this evening, folks. No sacred cows in my barn. So I'm going to cover this just like I think everyone should cover this. But alas, it just doesn't seem like most people are. It just... It boggles the mind, really, when I look at this, because I think, like everybody else, rightfully so, that's how social contagions work. So, like just about everybody else, I would suggest. Let me get this out of here. Like about everyone else, I was caught up in the hype, And as Flavor Flav once said, "Don't believe the hype," and we shouldn't believe the hype, folks. We really shouldn't, because make no mistake about it, as old Billy Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage and we're just actors upon it. A little bit of a paraphrase, don't you know? But I do believe that's exactly how it do go here in the anomic age. And I swear, man, the more I look at this thing and the more I look at the coverage, and let me just separate hairs here. Let me separate the wheat from the shaft here, because there's the obvious known liars. That would be mainstream media, legacy media, the big major networks, the media conglomerates created by old Bill Clinton in the 90s, where he allowed these mega corporations to buy up other mega corporations and thus create monopolies. So that's why we have about 6 major media corporations controlling it all right about now. Thanks, good old Bill, for the old Telecommunications Act. I do believe of 1996. I could be mistaken. I don't know. I don't have these notes pulled up. I'm just kind of riffing here. But anyway, somebody can cross-check me in the comments and make fun and laugh and point. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt my feelings in the least. So I expect this sort of lame brain, myopic, pablum for the circus animals kind of coverage from the usual suspect, jive turkeys, ABC, NBC, BSNBC, the like, CNN, all those clowns. You would expect it from them. And if you don't expect it from them, you're probably listening to the wrong show. But I digress. But here's the deal, folks. I think a vast majority of us in the, whatever you want to call people that kind of listen to this sort of program. I don't want to put labels on myself, so I'm not going to. But I think most of the unlabeled demographic tends to at least hope, maybe winging a prayer, that the alternative media, the not so mainstream, the not ready for primetime players, would at least be legit and not just towing that old company line. But I swear to you, folks, the more I have really witnessed, tried to better understand and appreciate the not so mainstream media in the last, I'd say 6 days, since this whole op popped off, I swear to you, folks, I got to wonder just how much the not so mainstream media is actually now about the mainstream media, because it seems to be an awful lot of pablum. It really does. So I do kind of wonder how much money's various enterprises, organizations, and dare I say media outlets are getting from the usual suspects. The Mockingbird media, Operation Mockingbird revealed in the church committee hearings a la about 1973. I believe that's when they started. I believe they were released a little bit later, but I digress. You get the deal. So I got to wonder, I see a whole lot of just buy the company line from everybody, right, left, center, mainstream, not so mainstream. Everyone seems to be saying, that's our guy. I was going to entitle this show, to be honest with you, that's our guy. I mean, wasn't that what was it the FBI, or I can't recall. Maybe it was the governor of Utah that I first saw that press release, and it was something entitled to the effect of, we got our guy, we got the guy. I'm like, what the? And everybody just ran with that, man. Everybody went, okay, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. May I have another? And it's really boggled my mind. And it really led me to where I am today, where I see this as nothing more than a social contagion, nothing more than a very big op. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying it's an op. Whether it did happen organically, whether it was Israel, whether it was the globalists, whether it was CIA, NSA, FBI, dog catcher, I don't know. That's irrelevant at this point in the game. I do believe it's 100% guaranteed an op. And one of the best social contagions I've seen run, maybe since PSYOP 19. Because, I would have gone on record and said the greatest op was 9/11, the false flag of 9/11. That had to be the greatest op of all time until, of course, it was outdone by PSYOP 19. And maybe all of them have been outdone by this op, because my goodness gracious, folks, I've never seen this much of a social contagion just blow up quite like this. It's unbelievable. It really is. So, I know someone's already changed the channel because they were hoping I would give you the pablum droplets like everybody else. We're going to cover the 7 different shooters it could be. We're going to cover the tranny angle. We're going to cover it wasn't a tranny angle. Good grief, man. I can't even take anymore. It's just such a bunch of B to the S every time you turn around. But then the alternative media and the mainstream media are unified in, we've got our guy, we've got him. It's Lee Harvey Oswald, folks. Come on down, Lee. We've got our guy. It's John Hinckley. All right, come on down. Oh, we've got our guy. It's Sirhan. Oh, boy, come on down, Sirhan. We've got our guy. It's James Earl Ray. Oh, my gracious goodness. It's so insane that people buy apparently this mainstream narrative in the alternative media press. It just blows me away. I'm like, yo, what happened to questioning the answers? What happened to questioning the narrative? What happened to when it looks like a duck, smells like a duck, walks like a duck, goes quack, quack, and everything in between? It's a duck. It is obviously not as it is portrayed. It's that old song by 108, an amazing hardcore band that does not get enough credit. 108, I am not as you portray me. Yeah, and definitely this is not as it's being portrayed. So I've downright just quit listening to the alternative press as well as the mainstream, because it's all the same at this juncture, folks. It's like, we've got our guy. And the litany of patsies that I just ran down should give everybody pause and reason to go, huh? As Arsenio Hall once said, things that make you go, it's not like the government hasn't done this a time or 12. And by done this, I mean, had someone knocked off and pulled out a patsy, like they were pulling out a Kleenex from their back pocket. Oh, look, we found it. Here it is. 9/11 anyone? Oh, look, the passports. Everything else is rubble, I tell you. But look, these passports are perfectly preserved right here at the bridge. What? Oh, my goodness. So I'm sure there's people still buying into it, but I swear I just don't know how. Anyway, I know someone's tapping their watch and going, John, we're 10 minutes in. You haven't gotten to the topic. All right. I know. It's my show, and I'll do what I want to. Topic, alas, here we go, folks. What is a social contagion? I was going to pull the old book up from behind me there, But alas, I went in another direction entirely. So we're going to read it off the intro web. After all, they're right occasionally. A social contagion is the unconscious spread of attitudes, emotions, and behaviors from one person to another within a group. So this really does boil down and overlap a whole lot of different things. So it's a social contagion 100%. But I'm going to also argue that it bleeds into an emotional contagion. Así, clase, por supuesto. It's an emotional contagion as well as a social contagion. And it's another great example of groupthink. If you remember those the Solomon Asch studies from long, long ago, this was the line studies that got people into knowing the notion of groupthink. You know, it was, oh, this line is the same as this line. And the subject would say, no, it's actually this. And then before too long, the person administering the study would convince that person that they were wrong and that the person giving the experiment was right. Oh, no, this actually isn't the shortest line. See, it's the longest line. See, you're wrong. In essence, gaslighting. That's kind of another way of putting it. But the group think is just that. It's the group sort of collective coming into play and people just going along with someone in a position of authority because they're a position of authority. Oh, well, okay. Well, I mean, that's what they said. So must be so. And you see the exact same thing with mob psychology. We're going to get into that in just a moment too. But a lot of people are kind of more familiar with this sort of phenomena, probably on more of a personal level, because all this sort of bleeds over into a lot of different things. So you can look at it as this probably very basic way of understanding this. The primer on this, if you will, is just the cool kids. You know, we've all probably experienced that at some point in our life. The cool kids at the cafeterias, you know, cool kids at school. They're cool because they've got the Jordans, or they're cool because, you know, when I was a kid, it was a Billabong jacket. They've got the Billabong jacket. Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, so cool. Or the starter jacket when you got to middle school for me. That was a cool thing, you know. So there's the cool versus the uncool. And we're going to really take a look at that a little bit with this one. Let me see if I can pull some lovely graphics up for you. I don't know which way I'm going to go with this. I'm going to take this in two different directions. We're going to just learn tonight. Yeah. So there's that whole sort of cool versus uncool dichotomy. And that basically creates this clash between two different groups, you know, the binary opposition, just like all the lovely Marxist literature will talk about. It creates the binary opposition. There's the cool kids and the not cool kids. And the cool kids are ridiculing the not cool kids until they either fall in line and start doing the same nonsense or just stay subordinates or betas, if you will, in the proverbial pack that is the humans. But you see this a lot with mob psychology too, which is slightly different. I mean, all this is kind of just a wax on, wax off, kind of a slightly different spin on things. But the mob psychology is quite scary. If you've never witnessed it, it'll kind of spook you, because if you've never witnessed it, it's kind of hard to really understand. I've seen this twice that I know of. I saw this once at a show long ago. I was there to see 7 Seconds, and ironically enough, this was Blink-182 before they were the Blink-182 today. I walked out on them because they weren't punk enough at the time. That shows how stupid or idiotic, perhaps, or maybe smart. I don't know. I was at the time. I was there to see 7 Seconds. You know, the hardcore band from I don't know where they're from. Reno, Nevada, I believe. Anyway, neither here nor there. Long story short, a fight breaks out, which turns into a riot. The bouncers start getting a little crazy. The band starts getting a little crazy on the bouncers. The crowd starts getting a little crazy on everybody. Before you know it, the cops show up. Everything's shut down. You know, there's more cop cars outside you can shake a stick at, and it bleeds out into the street, and things continue to escalate. That's kind of the not so spooky mob mentality. Another time I saw this was definitely in my younger years downtown. You got to love the police, you know. Around 2:30, all the drunk trash staggers out of the bar. And the cops think to themselves, you know what? We really need everybody to get going. Maybe we can bust some drunk drivers because we want these drunken filth piles to get in cars or at that point in the time, get a taxi, and then we can take everyone home, right? Or bust them. I know what I'll do. I will ride through this crowd of drunken filth on horseback. That'll really calm things down. Of course it will, right? I mean, that's just the most idiotic thing you've ever heard. But that's what happened, you know, just about every weekend. They had the paddy wagon on one end, the mobile precinct on the other end. You know, a bunch of drunken college filth, military. I think all the like more upscale, you know, the chest out with Lovey, they've made their way home. But yeah, it was the more lowbrow at that point in the game, drunken and debaucherous. So long story short, things went south quick. A girl happened to touch the horse. The cop drags this chick across the street by her hair while punching her in the face on horseback, and the crowd didn't like it. I can't believe it either. It's hard to believe some 30 years ago, but they didn't like that. So in the blink of an eye, the crowd went hostile and started just about to the flashpoint of attacking said police before they could call in the riot squad and 50 different cars and everybody with all their utensils and uniform regalia and all that nonsense. Anyway, lucky for me, I got the heck out of Dodge. I thought this was what it was, and I was like, I don't need any part of this. But here's what we see with mob mentality. I don't mean to just go full bore without giving you more ejemplos. So, how feelings amplify within a mob. This really breaks it down for you. And believe me, this will make sense in a minute. So if you're filing out now, hasta luego, but here we go. Number one, the amplification through mirror neutrons. Okay, that's just some sort of fancy speak. Things begin to amplify up. Tensions rise in the crowd. For example, you know, when a cop's dragging some drunk chick across the street by her hair and hitting her in the face. Yeah, things sort of get amped up. Group polarization happens. Yep. In both of my examples, group polarization happened, right? So you had the cops and everyone else, and then you had in the show example, you had the cops and the bouncers and everyone else, I guess. I don't know. But contagious arousal. Oh, my goodness, not that arousal. No. What we're talking about here is this thing spreads like wildfire. You would not believe how quick this happens until you're in the proverbial stuff. Happens in the blink of an eye. So things go from, as my grandmother would have once said, sugar to something. Pretty darn quick. So contagious arousal. Both sides have now been polarized. Both sides says, oh my goodness, we got to get them. You're either with us or you're with the terrorist. De-individualization. So at this point in the game, people are de-individualized. You got the cops on one end and you got the crazed, drunken crowd on the other. And things heat up quickly. Examples of emotional contagion in mobs. Yeah, that's kind of how the emotional contagion works. People get very emotional very quickly, and it all dematerializes from there. It just goes south. So that's an example of the mob mentality, which is very, very similar to what we're seeing with the social contagion. And it actually can be an element of that. So with the social contagion, it's everything you already saw in the definition. It's let me pull that up for you again if you really need to see it, because I know somebody does. Yeah. Difficulty identifying. Oh my heavens, that's not the word. Heavens to Betsy. What in the world? There we go. Goodness gracious. Unconscious spread attitudes, emotions, behaviors by one person to another within a group. But talking about the social contagion variety, it's going on within the whole cultural social contagion. That's what this whole thing is. And as I said before, I have not seen this since 9/11, really on this scale, because it was slightly different with the COVID hoax. Because the COVID hoax, you saw, it was a social contagion, and it was more just this like simpering, weak, pathetic, groveling, that sort of thing. So we saw the weak sniveling part of the social contagion a la the COVID hoax. But with 9/11, we saw a kind of different social contagion. We saw this very, very bravado based, like, let's go get them. You're with us. You're with the terrorists. Freedom pride. Yeah. That sort of malarkey. Everybody's got a flag or you're a terrorist. That whole mess. Right. So that's kind of what we see on those two examples. With this one, the Charlie Kirk example, we're seeing a lot of those same hallmarks. We're seeing the mob mentality because now we have, I think the guise of civility is over, or at least it should be. It was over for me decades ago, but I think for like the Fox News crowd, the mask of civility has finally dropped, and they have somehow figured out, what? Like, you mean the people on the left want us dead? Like, they're not just stupid college kids with purple hair and nose rings that say, idiotic stuff and say boomers all the time. No, like, they really want you flicking dead, folks. Like, that's just it. So the mask of civility is over. So that being said, the mob mentality is definitely, I don't say it's fully taken hold, but you're at least seeing people say, enough being nice, enough of this sort of guise of tolerance. Be tolerant, right? The stupid bumper sticker, too tolerant. Yeah, man. But more importantly, this is a social contagion. So with the social contagion, it definitely works much like the groupthink, much like the mob mentality, kind of like everything else I've already talked about. But it really is spread much like a virus within the culture. And I would humbly submit to you that you see people like jumping on board with the social contagion in much the same way you do when like a big team wins the Super Bowl. So, I hate football. It's idiotic, but the Chiefs, we saw a bunch of band jumpers. Oh, everybody's a Chiefs fan all of a sudden. Woo! Lakers, synonymous with jumping on the bandwagon. Celtics, same old mess, jumping on the bandwagon. You saw this with the Braves, like about 25 years ago. They were the worst team in baseball for years. And then, holy shnikes, the 90s roll in. They actually get a decent roster, a decent coach, and just go to the championships and go to the World Series several years in a row. The joke was they only won it once, which is just, I digress. So I'm talking about here, you see a bunch of people just jumping on board, probably people that don't even really know the issues, don't even really know what's up, but it becomes kind of like the cool kids thing to do. So all the cool kids got Jordan, so let's get them too. Oh, all the cool kids love the Lakers, so I'm going to like the Lakers too. All the cool kids love Charlie Kirk, so we're going to love Charlie Kirk too. You feel me on this? I hope so. I'm trying to circle the wagons, land this plane. So that's what we're seeing with this social contagion. So we're seeing this elemental of social contagion, and it's working on both sides of the rail, so to speak. It's working on the right and the left, both sides of that Claude Levi-Strauss binary opposition, the raw and the cooked. Remember the book? Mentioned it like 3 shows ago. So that's what we're seeing. On both the right and the left, we're seeing the proverbial team jumpers, people that didn't even give a rat's, and now they're like, oh, I love Charlie Kirk. And people that didn't even give a rat's, oh, mess on Charlie Kirk. Yeah, he was all the usual suspect dribble from the lowbrow peanut gallery types, So that's what we're seeing. We're seeing that pop up in this form of the social contagion. And you saw this all across social media. I was tempted to do a show about this, but it just seemed redundant. All across the social media landscape, it's been this inundation. And if you follow my Twitter at all, that's pretty much all I've posted for about 72 hours. An inundation of the cult of academia, as I've said ad nauseum on this show, K through 12 indoctrination, college university weaponization. You've seen the academia types, as all says, the educated idiots, come forth in all forms and fashions. Their mask of sanity is starting to slip, to paraphrase American Psycho. And their mask of sanity did start to slip because all the academicians out there were just falling all over themselves to say disparaging things about Charlie Kirk. And I think more to the point, it became a mob mentality. it became that group think. It became, well, everybody else in the department's doing it, I better get on it too. Yeah. That sort of stupidity. And then on the right, you saw the opposite. You had like vigils all across the nation. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but I'm saying it's a lot of cool kids doing cool kid stuff, folks. I'm not disparaging Charlie Kirk, not trying to just say anything bad. I am explaining the aspects of a social contagion. And however you feel about this op, it was a real thing. It was the guy running from the scene with a pistol. It was the guy across the lawn at 150 yards or whatever. It was the guy behind him. It was a Secret Service guy to his left or the Secret Service guy to his right. Or I'm sorry, not Secret Service. Whatever the security details. I don't even care. But whichever one you think it was. Or if you're in the camp that he's not even dead, that won't even him. It was all a mask. He had a blood pump, a squib coming out of his shirt. I don't even know what to tell you, man. There's people up there saying that ain't his real wife. Look, here's a picture of Erica. Here's another picture of Erica looking totally different. It is exhausting to keep up with the nonsense, folks. So I'm taking it a different way. Social contagion, 110%. So whether or not these were players, actors upon the stage or not, I'm definitely going to submit to you that it was a whole lot of seemingly very intentional emotion drawn out from this whole thing. And somebody's saying, but John, it wasn't canned emotion. It wasn't like the WWE playing clapping when there's no one really clapping. It wasn't like your favorite sports team playing that canned screaming crowd because no one's even looking at the game. No, it's totally different. Or is it? So again, I'll submit to you, I think there was a whole lot of intentional emotional pulls in this thing. And I'll give you some previous examples too. The Boomer example, and I'm not disparaging them either, so get off your high horse. But the Boomer example, rightfully so, their big social contagion moment was the assassination of JFK. So, and it reads in the same way as this, folks. That's why I keep telling you it's a social contagion. This is an op. So in every single one of these aforementioned assassinations, it always just you keep pulling the string and the sweater just keeps unraveling. It just keeps getting more and more crazy. Because just like the JFK thing, it's the mafia, it's LBJ, it's the Jews, it's the Federal Reserve thing. It's all this. It's the mafia, it's the Cubans, it's Porky Pig and Smokey the Bear. I don't know, man. I'm just saying that's how these ops always play out. And they are intentional about obfuscation of information. That's why these things always lead everybody chasing their tail. And in 2025, everyone just has the ability to slow down the frame by frame. Did you see the bullet comes from behind him? Oh, it comes from in front of him. It comes from this palm gun. It comes from this guy in the crowd. I mean, you know, so it's one of those situations like all the rest, we'll never know. But more to the point, the emotional pull of the JFK thing was kind of self-evident as well. But they did a lot of obvious stuff to just make it more crazy, more emotional. You saw the salute from his son, more emotion. You saw every tabloid in the country at the time showing the wife crying and just more emotion. And this is the kind of thing that is just bread and butter for a social contagion. That's how it works, folks. And it links in exactly what I talked about in the previous show, the trauma-based mind control. That's why they showed the buildings falling down and the 9/11 false flag billions of times. That's why we've seen, unfortunately, the murder of this individual at least thousands of times at this point. I mean, good grief, you can't even turn on anything which you're not seeing it. So how we saw the emotional pull was quite obvious to me, even before his wife, Erica, went on Fox News. Oh, boy. Went on the big old mainstream right-wing network. It's Fox News. And we had Sean Hannity, Mr. Throwing the Football. Yeah, that guy, because he's never lied to you. He's always a straight shooter. He's Sean Hannity. My goodness, folks. It makes you want to just smack yourself in the head over and over again. It's just so ridiculous. When you see the same hallmarks, the same harbingers from everything that you've seen in the past again and again and again, but somehow it's a sacred cow because it's a right-wing pundit. And it continues to make less and less sense because you also have J.D. Vance on the scene. Why in the bleep would J.D. Vance be on the scene? This guy's not a politician. He's riding in Air Force Two, but why? Again, he's not a politician. I mean, we don't even have that from governors and senators that have died. But the VP shows up in Air Force Two and just whisk you away, lickety split. Seems a bit strange. And then, of course, in the big news broadcast with Erica Kirk, again, not throwing barbs here. It just seemed like a lot of intentional emotion. Bringing up the kids is an instant emotional pull for anyone. I don't care who you are. It was a pull for me, and I was watching it with obvious eyes wide open to a lot of this mess. And it was still like, man, that's touching. It pulls at your heart. It does. And it's intentional. You don't have to get up there and bring up the kids. It's not necessary. I wouldn't be up there at all if someone shot my spouse. What was it? 48 hours, not even 72 hours before. And she's up on, I'm on the stage now. And I got to hit all these emotional highlights. And it just stinks, folks. It stinks. People on the right ain't trying to hear it right now, but it stinks. And then we went from the shooter living with his mom and dad, turned in by dear old dad. And then, no, he wasn't. Actually, he was living with his tranny lover. I don't even know this clown's name. Sticks or something retarded. I don't even know. You know, we went from this to that. And then the gun, the whole gun thing, they might as well have said Madlicker Carcana. If they would have said that, I would have just died laughing. Because, I mean, that is kind of on par with what they are trying to pass off as the alleged murder weapon. It just showed up. It was in the grassy knoll, in a box, wrapped in a towel. What the? And he jumped down from the roof, even though there's a guy disappearing behind a tree that just vanishes. He jumps down from the roof, allegedly, with this full-length long rifle in his pants? What? Gracious goodness. You had people on InfoWars right after this happening say, oh, yeah, he totally has a gun case. And I'm like, what are you watching about? He's got a flipping, like a small black duffel bag. There's no gun case there. But we're led to believe that he took apart the gun, reassembled the gun, and just left it out laying in a box wrapped in a towel. I mean, what the? Yeah, if they would have said, he went to the library. No, excuse me. What's the one where Lee Harvey? He went to the movie theater. Yeah, he went to the movie theater, and we found him there in the movie theater after he shot a cop. And it's just, oh my gosh. Anyway, back to the emotional pull of every social contagion. So you had Erica up there talking about the kids, mentioning the kids like 3 times, I believe. I mean, it was like, okay, that's sad, touching, and heartfelt. It pulls people in. That's how a social contagion works, folks. It pulls people in. Okay, you got the idiotic variety of the social contagion, like the morons a couple years ago that were dousing themselves in a cooler or something. The ice bucket challenge. Could you get any more moronic than that? Thousands, probably millions of people all across the country film themselves, dump a bucket of ice on themselves. Woo! What an idiot. Not to be outdone, the Tide Pod challenge. You had equally moronic imbeciles eating Tide Pods and posting it online. Now you've got people all across the country having a vigil, talking about their breakdown, crying and stuff all over social media because it's a social contagion, folks. This might be construed as a barb, but take it what you will. This is just facts here, folks. If you saw the video of Erica Kirk at her murdered husband's casket. This was all over social media and the internet and mainstream media too about 4 days ago. And when I saw this, I did not want to believe that this was real. Like, I really looked at this the first time going, what? And the second time with like the most jaundiced eye possible. And then the third time, I was like, this is not reality. And I guarantee you, somebody out there has already turned this off and they're going, but John, people grieve differently. It's a different time. Everyone posts everything now. Look at what I just ate for dinner. You know, good grief. I ain't buying it, folks. I am not blipping buying it. I'm sorry. That just stinks. There is no way under the sun, under God's green earth, that if someone's spouse is murdered in cold blood on the global stage, that you are going to get a cameraman and say, hey, I got a great shot for it. Here, I'm going to grieve over my deceased spouse here. Hold his hand. Tell her I love you, baby, over and over again. And then we're going to put that online. We're going to say, print, that's a keeper. What? Folks, I've been through a funeral or two in my day, and there is no way I was going to have anything of even the remotest of public anything at the viewing, at seeing the body or anything else. That is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Completely deranged. And somebody out there is probably saying, it looks like rubber hands. I don't even know, okay? I'm not even going to touch the elephant in the room. I don't know. Rubber hands, real hands, just the dead guy's hands. I don't know. I am saying that reaction was not normal in any universe with anyone, no matter how they're grieving. I'm sorry, that just stinks. If that is your reaction, then that reaction stinks. If this was all a publicity stunt, an opt, or a great way to push the emotion of a social contagion, then it just still stinks. It's in poor taste. It is ridiculous. Whew. So, social contagion it is, I do believe. It's managed to get everybody in on it all across the world. And this really brings up another element. I'm glad I didn't forget this, because to me, this is emblematic of also what's referred to in sociology and psychology as a parasocial relationship. Look into it if you haven't. A parasocial relationship is when nutcases believe that they somehow have a relationship with a celebrity. You know, you've seen this since the dawn of time. You know, like the old 80s example was Jodie Foster. She had some crazed stalker, you know, whatever. And now you just go, ugh. But I digress. Every celebrity seemingly has had this weird parasocial fan base where they believe that they know that celebrity. They believe that, you know, you really see this especially with actors and actresses, because the audience really believes the character that they portray, and they believe that's them. So, I mean, when you're watching the Andy Griffith Show, you go, yep, that's Andy Griffith. All right. That's him. That's the guy, even though that's the character Andy Taylor, played by the actor and actual human being, Andy Griffith. You pick him up, but I'm putting down a hope. The same thing, you know, substitute your favorite guy. Tony Danza was not the character he played on Who's the Boss. That was not Tony Danza. Tony Danza was the actor that portrayed, what was it? Tony Maselli, whatever his name is. You know, that's the point here, folks. And it's even harder to disseminate, it's harder to discern what is real from not real. And it's even more difficult in 2025 because our world is a nightmare. You got AI generated bands, you got AI generated film, you got AI generated people that never existed. So there's that. You got people getting catfished online all the time. It's the most attractive girl you've ever seen from like 3/4 chest up. Down, it could be the hobgoblin of hobgoblins. You don't know. And this guy's doing it too, guys. Don't think you ain't, you know, I don't think it's just the chicks doing this. So my point is, it's very easy to fall for this parasocial relationship now. And the social contagion is just further exacerbated by social media and by that parasocial relationship. So you got people just bus jumping on the Charlie Kirk bandwagon and against the Charlie Kirk bandwagon. People that don't even hardly know this guy at all. But they know the parasocial relationship that they've seen on Instagram. They know what they've seen on Twitter. They know he's the best thing since sliced bread, or he's the second coming of Beelzebub. You know what I mean? That just makes the social contagion that much worse, because both sides are pulling in opposite directions. The binary opposition. It's George Soros's dream. I mean, this is what they beg for, folks. This is it. This is tribalism at its purest sense. It's the Hatfields and the McCoys. It's the Redskins versus the Raiders. It's tribalism. This is my team. I identify with this guy. I have a parasocial relationship with this guy. I know him. He's a good guy, or he's the worst guy in the world. That's what this is all about. Social contagion. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Those of you who still identify as human, that's exactly what this is. And I'm not throwing jabs and saying it's all fake. I'm saying perhaps this whole thing happened just as they told us. Just happened just like that. Okay, if that's the case, if it was a crazed tranny shooter, then it's still a social contagion. Because our Mockingbird media has pulled all the right strings, has had your feed rigged to show just the right things that will either mirror your perception of this individual or rile you up and show you the antithesis of what you think this is all about. And that's how the social contagion works. It gets the two sides going against each other. It gets people that are involved that are just like scarcely familiar with the topic or the person in this instance. It does it based on the social media. It does it based on that binary opposition of I'm right versus you're wrong. Same sort of stuff again and again and again. This is just the newest incarnation of this, folks. So don't think if you just didn't catch it the first time like you're a dum-dum. I'm not saying that. That's not what I'm saying at all. It's easy to get caught up in this, folks. It's easy to get caught in the mosh. Said, what the heck is that band that played Caught in the Mosh? Dang. Was it Testament? Testament played Caught in the Mosh, I think. I don't know. Could be mistaken. I don't know. Anyway, that's the deal, folks. It's easy to get caught in the mosh. It's easy to get sort of blindsided by this. It's so darn easy to fall into the emotional tornado. Everything on social media is Charlie Kirk. Everything is him getting shot. Everything is your side is right. Or everything is, look how terrible this other side is. Oh, it's just blasphemous. It's terrible. It is. Look at it. Did you see it? Did you see this? And I'm as guilty as anybody. I'm sending stuff to family. They're sending stuff to me. Social media is just a buzz with this stuff. But it's important to see things for what they are. It's important to see ops for what they are. I don't believe, for example, we're ever going to know the true nature of this killer any more than we know the true nature of any of the aforementioned assassins throughout history. We're going to know the sanitized for your protection version of reality that they want you to see. That's all. Only the news that you need to see. That's what you're going to get from us here. And that's what you're going to get apparently from the alt media and the mainstream media now. Whatever the sanitized version is what you're going to see. Disgusting as it might be. It's a social contagion, folks. Nothing more, nothing less. We got time to get into a little news. My goodness gracious sakes alive, I do believe we do. And it's really crazy. I could have done an entire show. I could have done about 5 different shows, about 5 different ways on 5 different complete topics here. I was going to do one just on the cult of academia, the K-12 indoctrination, college, university weaponization, because that's another angle we're going to have to touch on. If you're new to the show, I've touched on it probably ad nauseum, but we're going to go through it one more time. The cult of academia. I was also going to do another show just about all the connections to our greatest ally. Could do a whole nother show on that one. And I don't know if it's just me or if North Carolina has fallen off the cliff and kind of like that falling out of the ugly tree and hit every branch, kind of like the falling off the stupid cliff and hit every branch. I don't know, man. But North Carolina is just replete with imbeciles, scumbags, communists, and just satanic filth. It really is. I've posted so much about North Carolina in the past few days. I just couldn't handle it anymore. That's kind of why I jerked the wheel into a totally different direction. But we will at least cover what we probably all want to know: our greatest ally. There's so much, so much. Good grief. Oh my goodness. Let's start here. Why not? And I was gonna just rattle these things off, but I decided no. Let's show the images too. Here's things that have happened since the murder of Charlie Kirk. I've got a list here. This list, I believe, is a bit erroneous because this is not my list, but I'm agreeing with. I'm not even giving you the first one because I believe that's erroneous. Block the Epstein files. That's it, folks. This is from NBC News, the legacy variety. Yes, Senate Republicans defeat Democratic push to force release of Epstein files. Yeah, so while you were sleeping, that's what I said to this. While you were sleeping, it looks like the Senate, the Republicans, the right side of justice, the right side of history, those guys, they were able to defeat a bill that would force the release of the Epstein files. And I know someone out there is going, but John, those dastardly Democrats put all this negative information about Presidente Trump in there. Don't you know? That's why he didn't want it released. I ain't buying it, folks. I'm sorry. I'm not in your cult and I'm not buying it. In my humble opinion, everything looks better in the light. And just as I've never, thank God, but I've heard this example many times. You flip the lights on and the bugs run for the walls, And in my humble opinion, that's exactly what El Presidente Trump should be doing here. He should be releasing all this in the light. And if it's all a bunch of hogwash by them pesky Democrats, then so be it. It'll all flesh itself out in the light. Also, maybe you could actually try to get some of these criminal scumbags and put them in jail, or maybe your DOJ could do that. I don't think so. Or your attorney general could do that. I know they couldn't. Or even the FBI could do that. No, I know they couldn't. So we got Bondi, we got Cash Patel, and we got Bongino. They all seem to be just helplessly running through the Who's on First skit over and over and over again. Well, you got like this litany of dastardly criminals just running amok, 86-47 or whatever that jackwagon. That's just one of them. I mean, everything that you've seen from these alleged Democrats under the guise of communist satanic filth is just criminal, but yet I guess not, because they're not in jail. But alas, if you drive down the highway too fast, someone will shake their finger at you and give you a ticket to fund the state that's destroying you. What else we got? Rubio's visit proceeded despite President Trump's anger at Netanyahu over the Israeli strike of Doha, which said, yeah. That ain't the point here. The real point is, we got Rubio kissing the wall. Yeah. Yeah. He's over there with Huckabee. They're both kissing the wall. They're making out with the wall. while this whole Charlie Kirk thing goes bluey over here in the States, don't worry. We're just going to make out with this wall in the Middle East. You know, some tiny little speck country about the size of New Jersey. We're going to send these big American bigwigs over here to make out with this wall. Oh, my goodness gracious sakes alive. Anyway. So there's that. I didn't put it on the screen. I apologize. Someone's losing their soup over here because I didn't put this on the screen. Mike Huckabee, the ambassador to Israel. Oh, yes. And Michael Rubio. Visit our greatest ally to make out with a wall and wear a special hat. Yes, they do, I tell you. But wait, there's more because somebody is tapping their finger. This happened before this old hoopla popped off in the last week or so here. But you need to see this too. Pentagon seeks $3.5 billion to replenish weapons after Israel operations. Yeah. It's for a missile defense system. It's just $3.5 billion. I mean, what are you worried about? Yeah, you're out there actually worried about inflation or something? You worried about like paying bills? You're actually concerned about your kid's economic future and your own economic future. You mean you're living paycheck to paycheck and what's 3.5 bill to a tiny little greatest ally across the sea? I mean, come on. They love you. Send me your money. I swear. Israel should adopt the old suicidal tendency song, Send Me Your Money. That would be amazing. That should be maybe they could be their new national anthem. I think it could be awesome. What else we got? This is from my list. Block the Epstein files, yes. Banned Pentagon from boycotting Israel. Oh, yeah, that's true, too. While you were sleeping, if you try to boycott Israel, if you got your own business and you're saying, you know what, I've had enough of giving them billions and billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of our tax dollars, I'm going to boycott them bows across the pond. And then they're going to say, nay, nay, you shan't, because we will come for you. And don't worry, Palantir will help us too, Peter Thiel. Giving old J.D. Vance, or whatever he was calling himself at the time, that lovely, cushy job with no experience. Yeah, Palantir's in the big, beautiful bill, and it's going to aid us in stopping you from criticizing you-know-who. I see, classy. Who's that? The judge that's gonna help us. Oh, Piero. Yeah, Piero's gonna help you too. Janine Piero. She's gonna really bust your chops if you say anything negativo about our greatest ally, don't you know? Let me see what else we got. Push bill to revoke citizenship for criticizing who? Cuba? No. Criticizing China? No. Criticizing Bangkok? No. Who in the world would Los Estados Unidos go on the mat for and say, we're going to try to take your visa away. We're going to put you in jail for criticizing Australia? I don't know. For criticizing someplace, I can't think of where. Maybe the commenters. No, I don't. I have no idea. Approved 650 million plus. Approved 650 million plus for you know who. Exactly. Tasmania. Yep. 650 million for Madagascar. That's exactly who we're giving this money to, folks. So if you thought we were just going to give it to Israel, no. Why would we do that? I mean, that'd be crazy. 650 million too. Tanzania. Anyway, so there's that. What else we got? This one's from Greg Reese, former Live InfoWars. I miss you there, Greg Reese. You did some amazing work. I apologize for the expletive. I was going to crop that out, but I thought for full edification. Oh, Greg Reese is saying, what the does it take for a revolution? I don't know. Great band from across the pond, the Addicts. Viva la revolution. I don't know, Greg. I don't think the American people would get off the canvas for anything. They won't get off the canvas for 60 plus million babies murdered. No. They won't get off the canvas for a vaccine that'll kill you. They won't get off the canvas for shutting your business down under the auspice of safety and security. They won't get off the canvas for nothing, Greg. Does anyone else find this weird? This is an image of 250 U.S. state legislators currently in Poland. No. Currently in Chile. Not even close. No. Currently in the Philippines. No es verdad, clase. You know where they are. That's right. We got one more for you. This one's kind of a funny as well, I thought. America really needs to take a good look at the logo in the back and ask, what is this? What? The logo, in case you're only in the auditory variety of this show, says 50 states, one Israel. Do. Doesn't that just warm the cockles of your heart? 50 states, one Israel, folks. What it should tell you is that the people that you thought, stupidly so, I don't know why anyone thought this, would actually represent you do not have your best interest at heart. They, in fact, have somebody else's best interest at heart. Probably the somebody that would give them, 100 million, like Miriam Adelson or something. I don't know. I think she's from Canada. But anyway, that's what I would suggest. I'm pretty sure that the people that you believe falsely so, that have your best interest in heart, those people that might even go on live television with a lovely ad campaign saying, put America first, in fact, might, possibly si, be putting somebody else first that ain't you or me. What you think? What do you believe? Oh, my gracious goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have come to the end of our time together. We've actually well surpassed our time together. I was supposed to put the brakes on this thing at like 12:30, but I gave you a little bit too much ads than I was supposed to, and I didn't want to leave you hanging high dry, so to speak. So I'm giving you the full well into the dark side of the AM. If you're playing with the add-on version of the game, we're sitting at 12:53. So we're well into the dark side of the AM, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you're still out there in the chat or in the spooky intro web, thank you very much for hanging out. Thanks for tuning in. Wasn't meant to be offensive, just shining a light in the dark. Kind of like Dio, like a rainbow in the dark. I was on a Dio kick for the last few days. I wish I could play that on this show, but alas, you get the Dikembe Mutombo finger wave from the YouTube likes. So anyway, just trying to shine a little light in the darkness, try to propagate a little truth in a world of lies, as I say on this thing. You can't do everything, but you can do something. Please get out there, do your part, make a difference, and I'll be seeing you sooner than later. To be specific, at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday. I'll be seeing you sooner than later in the Anomic Age.
Thank you for listening to The Anomic Age, a John Age project. For past shows, further info, and to comment, go to anomicage.com. That's ANOMICAGE.com. Till next time, thank you for listening to The Anomic Age.